Michigan stinks!
Welcome to December, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Morning 5 here on Monday, where Ohio State is fresh off a win over Michigan. It always feels nice to say that. Ohio State is fresh off a win over Michigan. I'll say it again. I am Dave Biddle. I am joined by Steve Helwagen. There's plenty to discuss. Let's get right to it. Steve, for weeks, the focus from the majority of Ohio State's fan base has been on the inaugural college football playoff and whether the Buckeyes will make the 14 field. I've talked a lot about it. However, now, in my opinion, it's all about winning the Big Ten championship on Saturday over Wisconsin. I'm not saying it'll be impossible for Ohio State to win the national championship with Cardale Jones taking over for the injured JT Barrett at quarterback, but I do think it's highly unlikely. So I think this season now, Steve, is all about winning the Big Ten title. If the Buckeyes can beat the Badgers this Saturday, and then let's say they lose in the first round of the playoffs or in a major bowl game, it would still be an extremely successful season at 12-2. This team has not lost one but two legit Heisman contending quarterbacks in the same year with Braxton Miller and Barrett. I mean, my man, that has to be a first in the history of college football, losing not one but two legit Heisman contending quarterbacks in the same year. They were also without defensive end Noah Spence all year. Spence, of course, led the team in sacks last season. So it's been very impressive what they've been able to accomplish. And if they're able to beat Wisconsin, frankly, Steve, I don't even care what happens from here.
I think you make a good point, especially now that Barrett is no longer going to be able to play with the injury, and you're looking at Cardale Jones, a tremendous opportunity for him to show what he can do against great competition. I mean, Wisconsin has the number 2 ranked defense in the country, and they don't let people run it or throw it against them very much. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a tough task indeed, and if the Buckeyes can win the Big Ten championship game and defeat Wisconsin, that would be a tremendous feat in my mind. And I would agree with you. I think the playoff talk needs to be on the back burner. I don't think that that should be Ohio State's primary thought this week. I think it should all be about, ending this Big Ten championship drought. It's 4 years and counting, and I think the Buckeyes and the 4-year seniors here, they want to get their championship rings. They haven't had those yet. And, go on from there. I mean, whether they make it into the playoff or, in my mind, get sent to the Cotton Bowl to play TCU or Baylor, either way, it's going to be a good finish to the season. So I do agree that Wisconsin's going to be a tough challenge, though. Melvin Gordon, the running back, the Buckeyes' run defense hasn't been all that great here down the stretch. I think it's just going to be, what the heck? We'll tune in on Saturday night and just see what happens. That at this point in the season, I mean, you think about everything that's gone down here in the last, week, 2 weeks, whatever. This whole season's been kind of surreal to me. I mean, with the way that JT Barrett took that job and made it his own and made people pretty much forget Braxton Miller, I think, for weeks on end there. And, and now to have this happen, so unfortunate. But, I think we're going to have one more very interesting game to watch on Saturday night.
Whoever thought we would be going into an Ohio State-Wisconsin matchup this year talking about Ohio State with the issues at the quarterback position. Wisconsin had the biggest joke in the entire country, it seemed like, at the quarterback position. If they were halfway competent, they would have beaten LSU and beaten them badly in the season opener. And now, lately, Wisconsin has been competent. Not good, but, competent at the quarterback position with Joel Stave, getting over the yips and getting over his Chuck Knobloch, or whatever you want to call it, Steve Sachs. And Tanner McAvoy coming in there and being a good running quarterback. Now it's Ohio State with the question marks. And I think Cardale Jones has the potential to play well, but he's so unproven. So let's talk about that, Steve. With Jones taking over, let's talk about what we know about him. We obviously know he's big. He's 6'5", 250. He's very fast for his size. He has the potential to be, in my opinion, an excellent running quarterback at the collegiate level. Now, as a passer, Urban Meyer said yesterday that he, quote, has a cannon for an arm, so that's good news. We knew that, though. He has a huge arm. Now, accuracy and decision-making will, of course, be the question marks with Jones as far as his passing, and he's so inexperienced, of course. But I think he has what it takes to beat Wisconsin this week, Steve. And OSU will, of course, be using some Wildcat with Jalen Marshall as well. Steve, are you bullish or bearish on Jones? And also talk about the Wild Buck formation with Marshall.
I would say I'm bullish on Jones, provided that they don't ask him to do too much. I would like to see them start with some high percentage passes for him, and I agree with you. I don't think they're going to miss a beat with the zone read. I mean, provided he makes the right reads. I think, you've got to get the running back in position where he can get yardage and keep it, when the quarterback needs to keep it and get the yards as well. But as far as the throwing game, I think he'll be just fine. He's got a huge arm. Obviously, you got Devin Smith that can get deep. And again, we're talking about a Wisconsin defense that's pretty good. I mean, they get after the quarterback pretty good. So it's going to be a tough challenge, I think, for Cardale. But, there will be plays that can be made on the fast track indoors there at the Lucas Oil Stadium. And I think Cardale will come through and he'll do just fine, I think. I mean, you talk about a guy who's been kind of biding his time. I mean, he spent one season at the prep school, red-shirted, and then now he's a third-year sophomore for the Buckeyes and really has waited for this thing. He used to be a knucklehead, as everybody says. He's cleaned up his act, and now he's going to get a chance to lead this team to a Big Ten championship game win. Man, he's got to be on cloud nine this week.
Big debate on our boards right now, and I'm sure everywhere in Buckeye Nation is whether Ohio State was running J.T. Barrett too much. Now, Ohio State's always going to run the quarterback. This offense is predicated on that. No one is arguing that J.T. Barrett shouldn't have been running. Of course he should have been running. He's very effective. I've been saying it all year. The guy is very underrated as a runner, not amongst Buckeye fans, but I think outsiders were probably surprised to see how good of a runner he was. The problem here is through 12 games, J.T. Barrett has the same amount of rushes as Braxton Miller had last year through 12 games. And I think it's easy to make the argument, Steve, that you should be throwing the ball more with J.T. Barrett than you are with Braxton Miller, and you should be running the ball less with J.T. Barrett than you did with Braxton Miller, because J.T. Barrett is a very good passer. But at the same time, I love Tom Herman. I think, it's really nitpicking because he's such a good offensive coordinator. But if there is one nitpick I have, I think he ran Barrett too much. Now, in the play he got hurt, that's just a freak play, whatever. But the bottom line is, the more shots your quarterback takes, there's a higher percentage he's going to get hurt. That's why you don't see quarterbacks make it in the NFL that are running quarterbacks, at least not long term. So your thoughts on this? I mean, this is not bashing Tom Herman. This is just, were they running J.T. Barrett a little bit too much, in your opinion?
I think you could make that case for him to have the same number of carries, give or take a few, as Miller. That doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sound like that's the best use of the talent you have available. I mean, you look at Jalen Marshall as an example, 4 touchdowns against Indiana, 4 touches against Michigan. That's ridiculous. You need to spread it around to your playmakers, and I think at times they get this tunnel vision. The middle 2 quarters, of some of these games have been terrible to watch because they don't, they've kind of curled up into a ball at times, it seems, with this running game. So I don't know what to say. I would say that, again, what makes the offense click or become special, and I imagine this is what Tom Herman would say, is the threat of the quarterback keeping the ball and running, because he's the one guy that most defenses are not tuned up to stop running the ball. So the threat of, you could say, well, why doesn't he hand it off to Curtis Samuel? It's not the same thing. It's the quarterback running the ball is not the same thing as handing it off. So I guess that's what it boils down to, that for this thing to really work, the quarterback does need to keep it 10 times a game, but does he need to keep it 15 or 20 times a game? I don't think that that's necessary at all.
Wrapping up the show, great stuff from Steve Helwagen. First of all, excellent stuff. His knowledge is unparalleled. I appreciate it, Steve. Wrapping up the show here, very sad news about Costa Cara George. Walk-on defensive lineman passed away. It was discovered that he committed suicide, and nothing else needs to be said other than it's very sad. This was discovered again yesterday, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Very, very, very sad. Around noon today, we will interview Urban Meyer, and then sometime between 12:30 and 1:30, we will interview Tom Herman. We will interview Luke Fickell. We will interview Curtis Grant, Joshua Perry, Taylor Decker, Pat Elfline, and Ezekiel Elliott. So look for stories, bolts, videos throughout the afternoon here on Bucknuts. Again, thanks to Steve Helwagen. Thanks to all the listeners out there. Take it away, best damn band in the land.